Hello, everyone.
Welcome back
to another episode of a Paddock 43 Mini.
P43 Mini,
P43,
actually. I think
sorry.
the last one was, Mini.
P43
Hosted
Mini.
by Paddock 43.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. So today, we always talk about the drivers. And we blab on about drivers. So we thought we would talk about the reserve drivers.
Because they
And
deserve their moment too.
They do.
They do.
Yeah.
They do.
They're
Stuff
very
in the
important
background.
in the F1 ecosystem.
Yeah.
We love them.
They're like the bees.
The what?
The what?
Like the bees. You
Oh,
don't
the
have the
bees.
bees, we all die.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
They produce the honey.
Yeah. They keep things going.
Yeah, they do.
So whilst the spotlight is typically on like an F1 driver, obviously all the time, there's these guys in the background. A lot of the time they could be racing in F2 or F3, competing in different elements of
Sometimes like IndyCar.
Yeah. They could be any sort of form of motorsport. They're there for when an F1 driver cannot compete or race. Or, once a year we know that they have to step on up and do some testing and
Into a practice
perform,
session.
Practice session.
As we saw Daniel Ricciardo do earlier on this year.
And they do get compensated for that as well.
Yes.
Waiting around to see if they...
It's kind of,
Will drive.
sometimes I wonder, it could be a little bit more fun.
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah.
Like you
I
don't have
will-
the pressure, but you get all
yeah.
the cool stuff.
This
that
is what I
comes
was
with
about to
F1.
say is like probably the most, I reckon, for new Formula One fans, the most well-known reserve driver in Formula One at the moment is Daniel Ricciardo.
Yeah.
Because everyone knows that he was made a reserve driver of Red Bull for the 2023 season and was paid $20 million to do so. And the first 6 months of the season, he has just made Instagrams and TikToks.
He's had the best
He's
first
had
half of the
the
season.
best
A
time.
part of me wonders if like a lot of fans realised there were F1 reserve drivers.
I reckon for the new fan base
Like,
that
yeah,
have
a
come
lot
from
of-
places like Drive to Survive, that's where they've
They
picked
would
up
have
on
no
it.
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
I think
I'm
it's
pretty sure when
cemented
I
it.
first got
Yeah.
into it, I was like, I didn't know there was a
Well, I think,
reserve driver.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's cemented in their minds that there are reserve drivers.
Mm.
That being said,
Should
we
go
have a
through
full list.
Yeah,
and
full
got the whole
list.
breakdown.
Pat needs to read out this list because if Amy and I do, it's just
We're gonna butcher every single name.
so.
Oh no, we can say a couple.
There's a couple, but
no, I'm sure there's lots that you guys can say.
Oh, she's
You know
so
what? You
nice.
should just tell us to pronounce a hard one, and we'd probably.
All right, well,
Yeah.
surely you,
You
can
go-
say the first one from Red Bull.
Liam Lawson.
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right,
so
you go
Red Bull,
through.
we have 3 drivers. So we have Liam Lawson, Dennis Hauger, and Zane Maloney. I actually don't really know much about Zane Maloney, honestly.
I don't know too much either.
Then for Ferrari, we have Antonio Giovinazzi, which I'm sure most people know. He raced for Ferrari in 2021. And he was actually part of the winning team this year for Ferrari won Le Mans this year. And Antonio Giovinazzi was on that team, which is a fun fact. For Mercedes, we have the iconic Mick Schumacher, who
Is the son of Michael Schumacher.
the great,
Legendary.
and yeah, he also was racing. He was racing last year.
Yeah. It is, just a side note before we crack on to the rest, it is not uncommon for F1 drivers to become reserve drivers. If they're
It's
not
kind of like they
performing,
can start as reserve, go to F1, but then they can also
go back
come
to
straight
reserve.
back.
Yeah, they can go up into F1 and then they don't perform and they realize, okay, nope,
Yeah.
put them back.
You need
Back
more,
to your corner.
Yeah, you need more practice.
You need more
It's
practice.
not your time.
Imagine if they did it on purpose. They were like, I actually don't like the pressure.
Yeah.
It's more fun being reserve.
Yep.
Side note, I'm so intrigued to know the difference of F1 driver's contract versus a reserve driver's contract. Like what exactly and maybe how much extra a bonus they get paid if they do compete in a race. But anyway, sidetracked. That's another conversation.
We'll
McLaren.
find one.
yeah, we'll find one. But next up, we have Alpine and our man, Jack Doohan.
Ooh, Aussie.
Woo.
Our
Who's performing
Australian
very
one.
well in the 2023 season.
Yes. And then for McLaren, we have a few drivers. We have Alex Plau.
Which he has had controversy around him.
Yeah.
So Alex is a current, I think it's an IndyCar driver
Yeah,
that he's
IndyCar.
doing. And he has decided that he doesn't want to continue on with McLaren. He's sort of essentially ripped up the contract. But I think that we'd have to
Yeah.
deep dive into that a little bit better. But yes, who else is racing for McLaren in the reserves?
So we actually also have Mick Schumacher as a reserve driver for McLaren. We also have Stoffel Vandoorne and Filip Drugovich. So
no
they've
way
got
I
a
could pronounce
few.
those names that you just said.
Next up on the list, we have Alfa Romeo and we've got Theo Pourchaire. Aston Martin, we also have Stoffel Vandoorne and Filip Drugovich. So that's interesting.
They all
They're-
kind of
Yeah, they're racing for
around.
2 teams here.
Get around. they
Reserve
get around. For Haas, we have Pietro Fittipaldi. And then for AlphaTauri, similar to Red Bull, I guess, you know, they share the love. We've got Liam Lawson, Dennis Hauger, and Zane Maloney. And finally, we have Williams. But
They don't-
Williams typically don't have one.
No, they rely on Mercedes. Yeah. And
which is quite a win for them.
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
i.e., they're just relying on Mick Schumacher, which
Well,
is
Mick,
for
the
anyone listening
rumours.
following in the 2023 season. In our main episodes, Logan Sargent might be out, Mick Schumacher might be in. Anyway, sidetrack.
I wonder if, and then Sargent would probably be,
reserve.
Who go back to
reserve.
reserve? Yeah.
but if he accepts,
They have
'cause
to
he
accept.
might be like, screw you guys. But yeah, so that is
That is our list of
our
our
list.
current F1 reserve drivers.
Lots of them.
Lots of them.
So, Amy, do you want to take us through what these backup drivers per se really are and what they're doing?
So there are a few things. I mean, we'll kind of go through and break it all down, but obviously they're like a backup driver for the main driver. They do a lot of testing and development. They actually do a lot of simulator work. They obviously attend a lot of race weekends, do promotional duties, and they also have a lot of like learning and development opportunities, and they are there for emergency situations as well. So let's go back to the top. As they are a backup driver, the primary role of an F1 reserve driver is to be prepared as a regular driver within the team. This means maintaining physical fitness and readiness to step into the car on a very short notice. You know, we saw that in, what race was it, where Nick De Vries stepped in for Alex Albon when was he sick
Last year.
or did he hurt his hand?
I think he was sick.
Were they two separate? I'm not too sure.
I think
I can't remember. Am I getting them mixed up?
I think you're getting mixed up, but he was sick.
Yes.
I can't remember what race that was last year, but
He
and
was
that was
sick.
where he just performed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where he got his contract basically. And he just had to, jump into the car and perform. And yeah, they just need to be familiar with the team's procedures and systems to replace an injured or unavailable driver.
Gee,
It's
when he
such a
jumped in.
shame.
It was a
because he
fluke.
performed so well.
And that's the thing, like a reserve driver
It's like,
has, like they can perform really well when they do have to step up. It doesn't necessarily mean anything. It can be a fluke.
Yep. And that's what it was.
Poor Nick.
So the next little bit is obviously they do a lot of testing and development, and they're playing a crucial role in that team's testing because they need to try out new things for the car. They're trying out new tyre strategies. They're going around the track doing time trials. Throughout the season, they engage in these sort of testing sessions and setups just to make sure like the aerodynamic configuration of the cars are performing to their best, and then also providing that feedback back to the team, especially when it could be a break between races or races just gone.
Test dummies.
Yeah.
Essentially they're test dummies.
Yeah.
Which I was trying to avoid saying that, but yep, you said it.
Sorry.
they are.
They are.
That's what they are.
They're mannequins.
Yeah, so they're providing feedback. There are mannequins, and that's pretty much what they're doing. And then, other parts of that testing and development is then, and they're also their training, is they go into simulator work. And I'm going to hand this over to Pat because she's more familiar with simulators than the both of us here, thanks to her lovely fiance.
Can't say I've ever used like a F1 grade simulator, but I mean, maybe it is. I don't know. Peter, is our simulator F1 grade? I don't think so, because I think they can feel like the G-force and everything.
Oh,
Well, actually,
really?
no. Actually, no, I lie. G-force can't be recreated. But
I was going to say, how do they do that?
I was like, whoa.
but I think
Sit there and you're like, oh.
But I think the engineers are able to sort of fine tune the car setup and simulate various situations and things. But basically, yeah, so with regards to simulator work, nowadays F1 teams rely heavily on simulators. It's a good way for them to prepare for races, and this is something that all drivers do, but in particular reserve drivers spend a lot of time on the simulators. And yeah, they practice on all kinds of tracks. It's a way for the team to make data-driven decisions, and it just refines their race strategies a little bit. But it kind of comes back to what Elle was saying about them being test dummies. Of course, all F1 drivers use sims, but
I thought you were about to say all F1 drivers are dummies.
they are certainly not dummies.
In my head, that's what you said.
But yeah, backup drivers, they do a lot of simulator work, and then they get the off chance where they get to actually drive the car. But typically speaking, they're just sitting behind a TV screen. And that kind of takes us to the next one. Another thing that they do. What do they do, Amy?
Attend race weekends.
Which is the fun.
I'm pretty sure
The
that
glitz and
a lot
glamour.
of them don't actually attend all of them. I think they're sort of
No.
like given.
Yeah, they're given breaks.
Yeah.
It's like when Checo was sick earlier this year, everyone thought that Danny was going to be, they were like, oh my God,
Yes.
Yeah.
Sergio,
that's right.
he's sick. Danny's going to be the reserve driver. I mean, I certainly was. I was like,
I
Yeah,
think we
I
all
thought
were.
I was so
exciting.
excited.
And
Yeah.
then everyone was like, no, it's actually going to be Liam Lawson.
Yeah.
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 I was like,
'cause
oh, okay, because
you know.
Danny was away on holidays.
Mhm.
Living
So,
his
no,
best
they
life.
do not need to be there
as
all
you
the
do.
time.
So yeah, most of the time, you know, if they're not racing, they are present at race weekends, except for obviously when they're given some time off. But yeah, they attend team meetings, and I think there's been a lot of, you know, funny moments where Danny sat in team meetings. I think Lewis was like, I've never seen a reserve driver so happy to be
Honestly.
in a team meeting. Not a team
Honestly.
meeting, like a press conference
Yeah.
thing. But yeah, they still like to stay informed about race strategies and conditions because
They've got to
You
be
gotta
in the know.
do what
So
you
they've gotta be
gotta
ready.
do.
Like,
Mm.
imagine if one of them has a fall walking into the track. I don't know.
A fall. They're not
They bro-
90.
Yeah.
One of them might have a fall.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you not see Lance Stroll trip up the stairs? I can't remember what. I think it was, which Grand Prix was it earlier this year? He tripped up the stairs and he took a huge stack behind the TV.
Oh, I
Like,
know, I
wow.
did see that.
It's-
Someone else
it's
did something
possible.
similar too.
Fall.
Can you imagine if he hit his head? Anyway.
But the funny thing is, when you think about it, like, how often have we actually seen reserve drivers drive
Yeah.
a Grand Prix weekend?
Mm.
It's
'Cause
very
it
rare.
was the same
Yeah, it
thing
is
when
quite
you
rare.
mentioned, when you mentioned Checo, and we were like, oh my god, some excitement, and then he was fine.
Yeah.
It's just
So-
because he didn't come to press day.
Yeah,
But then, yeah.
He had a tummy ache.
well,
Well, part of
I
coming to
don't.
race weekends as well is doing their like promotional duties, and of course they like take part in all the teams' sponsors and partners promotional activities. So they'll be going to various events and doing all of that. They do a lot of interviews off the track and on the track, autograph sessions, really integrating themselves within the fan base just to make sure that the team's love is still there, because obviously the F1 drivers are not always available. I guess some examples of promotional duties, and probably the most like popular one on social media, if you were to look up what an F1 reserve driver is doing, is again back to Daniel Ricciardo, Melbourne Grand Prix. He did some great social work for promoting Red Bull with the Inspired Unemployed Boys on Instagram.
That was
Yeah.
Very
Fantastic.
creative, very funny. Just took the absolute piss about his position, and he's probably the only person that actually could do that just because of his nature and personality. But yeah, they can have a lot of fun with it. It's obviously within the red tapes of their teams and what they allow. But yeah, I mean, that's what's expected of anyone in a team, right? You always got to promote your team,
gotta do it.
and they got to step up.
Yeah. Especially when you think of all the things that happen off track during a race weekend, interviews and things, and that's when they step up. But yeah, the other thing as well that's really great for the reserve drivers, and especially reserve drivers that aren't as experienced. Obviously, we've seen a lot of reserve drivers, as we mentioned before, that have raced in F1. They kind of understand how it works, but the role also works as a learning opportunity. So the reserve drivers are able to, observe and actually be around the actual drivers, the engineers, everything, every person that sort of is in the behind the scenes of a race weekend. They can gain insight into race strategies and all the technical aspects of it, which is obviously crucial for F1. And that can, I mean, I feel like it's almost like not to this extent, but like a student doing work experience. But do you know what I mean?
But getting paid a lot
But
of
getting
money.
paid and getting that
I know what you're saying.
you know, like
Yeah,
getting,
yeah, I know what you mean.
and I think in particular, reserve drivers that are in their first sort of years of that, they they can get a lot of invaluable industry knowledge. So yeah, and I can imagine they'd see some really cool stuff over race weekends.
Definitely. And then another thing is, obviously, they are there to support their team. You've got to be a team player. You can't not be a team
Here.
player. So, so an integral part of the team support structure, and they assist race drivers and engineering staff by providing additional data and insight during race weekends, as we spoke about in the simulator. They're there to support their
They're
team.
there to support
That's
the team.
it.
They're
Yeah,
there
in
to
a nutshell.
learn, be test dummies, and be there in an emergency situation. And we don't really need to, anything's an emergency situation where they're needed.
Yeah.
But it could be because, they've got COVID or something like that. Like that's
Yeah.
happened before.
Like we saw a
Or
lot.
their
in the last few years.
wife's
So
gone into labour.
Yeah,
Or
like
something.
anything's possible doesn't mean something's bad happened.
Yeah.
But yeah. So that's our F2.
F2.
F2. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Well,
Our
I mean, a lot of them are in F2.
43.
That's a good side note though. Actually, a lot of them are in F2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We should do one on F2. Do you guys want to listen to one on
Yeah.
F2?
Do you want to hear
We can
more
do
about
that.
what the F2 and maybe
Fun fact.
F3 guys?
I was actually watching it today, how F2 pit stops are 7 seconds and F1's 2 seconds.
It's a big step up.
Average.
Not
I mean,
if you're
there are
Ferrari.
still
Ferrari,
like,
yeah.
basically.
Okay,
Not
yeah.
if you're
They're actually quicker than Ferrari.
no.
I'm sorry.
My soul just.
Thank you for joining in on this lovely
Hey, quick
mini.
one.
Yes. Oh,
Sorry, before we wrap up,
Mm-hmm.
has a reserve driver ever won or made a podium, an F1 podium?
No.
this is
No?
a trick question. No, I don't think so.
No. There has been standout performances, but no wins.
Yeah, gotcha.
So,
Alexander Wurz.
Gerard Berger, who missed 3 races due to his father's passing, faced early retirement in the first 2 outings, but defied odds with a remarkable 3rd place at the British Grand Prix in 1997.
That's amazing. Pretty good.
I'm like, am I going to cry?
I think she's tired.
And then there was a second place finish as well. Okay, well, interesting. We can watch this space.
Yeah. Also, for our listeners, it's 9:36 p.m. So we record these late for you guys.
So if we get a little bit delulu.
Yeah, we get a little
Little
bit
bit delulu.
tired.
That's fine.
Lots of cheese.
All right,
But-
we're gonna go to bed and leave you there.
Yep. Love you.
Um,
Leave you. Bye.
Let us
Miss
know
you.
what you want to hear about on next mini, and make sure you send this around to your friends. And also, if you've enjoyed hearing about our reserve drivers in the Formula One, please leave a subscription. No, a review. Oh my God, we need to go to bed.
5
Okay.
stars.
5-star
Okay.
review.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.